We're going to be drawing interior elevations. So the elevations we're going to be looking at are in the, let me go to, I'm going to open up here's my AutoCAD. This is my project 8. We've got the kitchen here, and we're gonna focus on interior elevations for now. So we're gonna be doing this elevation, this wall, and we're gonna do which is this. Here's the kitchen area with those 3 windows, and then this is the family room area with 2 windows, and then this is the millwork on the side of the fireplace. So let me go back to here. So that is this millwork. Here's those 2 windows, and then here's the kitchen area. Then we're going to do this elevation here, and that elevation is this one, the fireplace in the middle, and then we've got bookcases and some base cabinets on either side of the bookcases, and we've got that pitched roof, and there's a little decorative beam that's running across right at the ridge, right at the peak of the of the ceiling there. And then the last elevation that we'll do is this one. This is the other side of the family room. So this is the millwork that is next to the fireplace, and then there's a window, and then there's some sliding glass doors here. So, and then this is, let me get the whole sheet. This kind of gives you an idea of what the final product is going to look like. So we'll have our interior elevations here, and then we'll have a key plan that shows the interior elevations over here. And it'll be on a new sheet called sheet number 4. So that is our project 8. That's going to be our the first project, and I'm actually going to dive into it this evening. So here's the plan, at least as I left mine with my CAD 1 folks last semester, and I'm going to draw my elevations over off to the right over here. So before I do that, as help for me to help me draw these elevations, what I'm going to do is I'm going to copy like this section of the wall over here. I'm going to copy it over here and rotate it. And then I'm going to copy this section of the wall and rotate it. And then this section over here. So the idea is that you can see here, this is the section of the wall up here, and then this is the elevation, the construction of the elevation. And what we'll do is we'll drop guidelines at various locations on the from the floor plan, which will help guide us in locating the windows and the millwork and the fireplace and stuff like that as we're moving along. So this is a lot easier and faster than redrawing and remeasuring all of the line work on these elevations. So that is the first step that I'm going to take. Now, I'm just gonna use my copy command here. And if I take this area and copy it over, you can see that I'm grabbing a lot of stuff that I really don't need for this. I've got electrical, I've got the sink. I don't really need to see the sink. Definitely don't need to see furniture. So what I want to do is I want to be selective in what I bring over. I want to bring over the walls. I want to bring over the windows. I want to bring over the millwork, but I don't need the dimensions. I don't need this other stuff. So let me just undo that. And what I'm going to do is if I open up my layer properties here, there is a little button right over here called layer states. And what layer states does is it allows me to turn on and off a whole bunch of layers or freeze or thaw a whole bunch of layers. And then I can come back and put them back to their default position without having to, find each layer that I froze and then thaw it, thaw. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a layer state of all of my layers as they are right now. They're whether or not they're frozen or locked or whatever state that they're in right now. So I'm going to come over here to this Layer States Manager button here. I'm just going to click on it. And I get this Layer States Manager that allows me to create a whole bunch of layer states. And I'm just going to create a brand new one. I'm just going to click New. And I'm just going to call it Default. Just the default state, layer state where everything is turned on. And then I'm done with this for now. And later on, we're going to come back to this and then restore this layer state after we play with all of the turn on and off various other layers. Okay, so now let me close this. And the way I love to freeze and thaw layers, I mean, like I've got furniture here, right? So I could come here to this drop down and I could come over here to the iFurniture or iFurn and iFurn 2, and I could click on the freeze button right here and freeze it. And that would be totally fine. But I generally like to use this little button right up here. It's below the layer drop down here. And when I hover over it, it says freeze. And all I need to do is just click on it. And then any object on a layer that I want to freeze, I'll just select that object. So I'm going to select the dimension and boink, all the dimensions are frozen. I've got this electrical circuiting. I'll just click on that. All my electrical's frozen. Furniture, frozen. Millwork, I'll leave the millwork, but I'll get rid of the sink. I've got appliances. I have these dimensions. I've got these dimensions. So now I don't need the text, so I'll freeze that. So now I just kind of have a bare bones floor plan here. And that is what I'm going to use to copy these three walls. So let's go to copy. I'm just going to grab this much and just copy it right over to there. And now I'm going to rotate this. So I'm just going to use my rotate tool and I'm going to rotate it, and be careful when you rotate it so that the inside, like if I'm standing here, I'm inside the kitchen, right? The millwork is over here. I want to make sure that the inside of the room is down and the outside of the room is above the wall. So I shouldn't have said down, I should have said below the wall, and outside is above the wall. So that is the orientation, and then I'm going to draw my elevation down here, right below this. Okay, so that's good. Let's copy this wall here. So I'm going to grab this elevation and just move it over here. Oop, I moved it, and I should have copied it. So let me just copy that right there. Perfect. And then this one over here. Let me grab this piece of wall over here. And I'll copy this over here. Now this one I need to rotate, and I will rotate it and make sure that the inside, where you're inside the room, is below the wall and outside is above the wall. So your sliding glass doors over here should be on the right side and the window should be on the left side. And I'll just kind of like move this up. These are just guides, so they don't have to be exact. They're just there. Okay, good. So now I'm done copying that stuff over. Let's restore all of the layers that I had frozen before. So I'll just go over to my layer properties, and then I'll go over to my layer states. And here's that default layer state that I created before I started freezing stuff. And I'll just click on restore. And you can see, let me just close this. You can see everything is restored back to where it was before. It's a really nice, handy tool. I don't use it every day, but it is nice to have to be able to do that. Okay, so now let's move on to our elevations. So before I do that, let me just go back. Let's look at this first elevation here. I'm just kind of zoom in here. So what we want to do is we want to be cognizant of line weights as we're drawing our elevations. And when we're drawing an elevation, the heaviest line on our elevation is the perimeter. That is this line that is goes all the way around the perimeter of the elevation. And let me zoom out if I can figure out how to zoom out here. For this elevation, the heaviest line is going to be the perimeter of it here. For this elevation, the heaviest line is again going to be the perimeter. So that is our heaviest line. Then the next heaviest line, like a medium weight line, are things that are sticking out into the space, like our millwork kitchen cabinets. They're sticking out into the space. So we want that line to be a heavier line, but not as heavy as this line. Well, I'll call it a medium line. And these millwork cabinets that are up here, those are going to be medium line as well. So generally speaking, those lines are the next heaviest. And I will often, and it looks like I wasn't consistent here, but I will often make this line, the perimeter around a window, I'll make that a little bit heavier. And then all of the nuts and bolts of the window inside the handles and the mullions and all of that stuff, I'll put that on a very light line. So what we'll do when we draw these windows is we'll make the perimeter line here a little bit heavier and we'll keep all of this light. And then the most light stuff is going to be like this baseboard here. It's literally attached to the wall. I think I'm going to make this also light as well. So we want to be cognizant of line weights as we're drawing our stuff. So let's look at our layers and see what we've got here. Let me open up my layer palette here. So I've got something else I should talk to you guys about before, but so I have some detail layers here. I've got a detail heavy, a hidden, detail insulation layer, light, medium, a pattern layer, and a detail PATT. That's for patterns, like if you've got maybe tile on the wall, or we have some stone on our fireplace. We're going to put that on the pattern layer as well. We've got an extra heavy layer and an extra light layer. So we have various line weights that are already set up for us. And they're in different colors. They've been set up with different colors. So as we are drawing, we will know, are we drawing on an extra heavy layer, or are we drawing on an extra light layer by the colors? They have different line types. Most of them are continuous, but there are a couple that are dashed or a hidden to line type. And here are the line weights. You can see that they range from 0.09 for the detail pattern, and for I think I've got extra light is also 0.09 millimeters, which is a really, really, really thin line, to really heavy, 0.70. So that is a really thick, heavy line. So all of these line weights are pretty much set up for us with our template. So I'm going to start with the perimeters, and I'm going to start with extra heavy. It might end up being too heavy, and I may change it later on, but for now, I'm going to make extra heavy the current layer. And all I did to do that, if you remember, is I can come over here and just double click on this little icon here to the left of the layer name and look for the green check, and that will tell me that that is the current layer. I'm going to close this. And the other way to do it, of course, hopefully you remember, is from this drop down. I can come find the layer I want to be current and then just click on it, and then that is the current layer. Okay, so let's start with our elevation. And I'm going to start with the line tool, and I'm just going to draw, I'm going to start with this one here. I'm just going to draw a line. I'm not going to be too picky here. That is going to represent the floor. And I'm starting more or less where this wall ends or starts right here. This is the corner of the room right there. And I want it to go at least as far as this corner of the room. Now, this corner, this end of this line, this is the corner of the building, the corner of the house. This is the outside of the building, if you remember. And this is the inside. So this is the inside corner of the room. So I just want my line to go, more or less. We're going to do trim and fill it so I don't have to be too exact. All right, so if I look at the handout says that the ceiling is 8 feet high, or this room height is 8 feet. So I'm just going to use offset. I like to use my keyboard shortcuts, and the shortcut for offset is O. You remember? So let me just get. I was on my other screen. Offset O, and I will set it to 8 feet and hit enter, and then just offset this up 8 feet. Voila. So there's the floor, and there is the ceiling of our elevation of our kitchen slash family room. Now let's get the left wall. So I'm gonna go with my line tool, and I'm gonna start here, and I'm literally just gonna draw a line straight down, perpendicular to the floor, just like that. And I'm gonna do the same exact thing over on the right side. And then you can use fillet or trim. I'll just use fillet here and fillet the four corners. Or you could use trim, of course, whatever makes you happiest. And there is our first elevation, or the perimeter of our first elevation. Beautiful. Okay, so now let's look at this one here. So I want the floor, I want these elevations to line up in a nice straight line. So I'll go to my line tool, and I have my O object snap tracking turned on down here. I guess we should talk about these settings. Why don't I just stop and talk about them? First, I'll talk about snaps, O snaps. My O snap button is here, and I've got my snaps turned on. If I click on the flyout here, these are the standard go-tos that I always set mine to: endpoint, midpoint, center, quadrant, intersection. Uh, Sometimes I have extension, sometimes not. I don't use it all that often, but mine is on, so I'll leave it. Insertion, perpendicular, and tangent. Sometimes I'll have nearest on, but generally speaking, I leave nearest off until I really need it. So those are the standard go-tos for my O snaps. And then right next to it is object snap tracking. I use this very, very frequently, and I'm going to use it actually right now. So I'm going to make sure that that's turned on as well. So O tracking allows me to use references or inferences to start lines or to end lines, and it lines some lines up with other lines. So let me just show you here. So I'm going to start with the line tool, and this time I'm going to just hover over this corner and then come over to about here. See that green line? That's telling that my O tracking is working. And I'll just left click here and then just draw the line underneath this elevation here. So boom, that's good. All right, now let's get the ceiling. So now if you remember for this elevation, we've got a pitch ceiling. So it's going to start up here at 8 feet, and then it's going to pitch up and then pitch down and then come down like this. So let me just start by offsetting 8 feet for that. That's going to be the start point here and the end point over here. And then it's going to go up to the peak is at 12 feet. And by the way, I'm getting these from the handout. So if you're not, if you're not drawing it right now, you can just take a look at the handout and you'll find these dimensions. So that is, I believe, 12 feet. So let me just offset up 12 feet. So that's where the peak of uh, my ceiling is going to be. All right, let me get the sidewalls in. So I'll just start here and come down. And I'll start here, come down. And I used fillet last time. This time I'll do trim. And I'm just gonna do some trimming here. And if you remember, you can use a fence for trimming rather than just select the piece of the object you want to trim. You can just left click out into the black area and left click and hold, and then your cursor will turn into this little dotted line, and everything that dotted line crosses will be trimmed. And then when I release my left mouse, all of that's trimmed. I love this tool. I use it all the time because it's like super fast and I don't have to be super accurate. Okay, that looks good. Let's just draw the pitch ceiling. So I'll start here at this endpoint of this guideline, and I'll go up to the midpoint of that guideline, and I'll come back to the endpoint of this guideline, and voila. So I'll just erase this guideline and this guideline, and then I can either fill it or trim these little extra pieces right there, and boom, I've got my second elevation laid out. Okay, so let's just quickly do the third one. And again, I'm going to go with my line tool, and I want these all to line up. So I'll just start here, and I'm just going to O track over, and then left click and draw that floor. I'll offset 8 feet. I'm going to do this one just a little quicker because I think you got the gist of it. And then I'm going to do my trimming. And I've got my 3 rectangles. Lovely. So there is also let me just kind of bring the handout back out here. I've got over here, I've got this little dropped soffit here. And this soffit is a separator between, remember, this is the pitched roof. This is right at the corner here where the wall and the pitched roof start. So this is right at 8 feet, but then the ceiling starts pitching up, and this ceiling stays flat all the way across. So to divide the kitchen area and the family room area, I just have this little soffit down here. This is sometimes called a bulkhead, but I use it interchangeably. It comes down a foot and it comes over 5 inches. So let's put that in before I forget, before we move any further. So that aligns right with the edge of the kitchen. So let me come here And you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to use O tracking here for this. You could draw the line if you wanted, but I'm just going to come down to here, and now I'll start drawing my line. And it's just going to come down a foot, 12 inches, and then come over 5 inches, and then go back up. And then just graphically, I'm just going to trim this little piece here so that our line, the perimeter of our elevation just runs across like this. And that is just going to divide our kitchen area from our family room area. Okay, good.
9. Well,
Yeah,
how sorry, that's not the word. Yeah. How long is the soffit or whatever you called it?
this soffit is a foot down. So
Put down.
12 inches down, 5 inches across.
Thank
Mhm. Okay, so now I brought that on so now let's look at the millwork over here. So this is my base cabinet here, and it looks like it is 2 foot 10 and a half. And then there is a countertop, probably a stone countertop here because stone often is 1 1/4 inches. So we've got a 1 1/4 inch countertop up above it, and the countertop sort of extends. There's a little lip here that extends an inch. It's not showing. I don't have a dimension here, but that is what that is. And then we have a toe kick down here. So toe kicks are almost always 4 inches high, and that's how high we'll make ours. And then they're almost always between 2 and 3 inches deep. We're going to make ours 3 inches. So that is going to be a medium line weight. We don't want it as heavy as the perimeter. So I'm going to use a medium line weight for this piece of uh, our millwork here. So let me come into the left side of our elevation, and I'm going to set my line type or my layer to a detail medium, MEDM. We'll turn that current. And then with my line tool, again, I'm going to use O tracking. I'm going to start here and I'm going to O track up and I'm looking for that green dotted line and I'm going to O track up 2 feet 10 and a half. So that would be 10.5, 2 feet 10 and a half. And it's going to come out 2 feet or 24 inches. And then I'll just come straight down. So there is our base cabinet. Let's put the toe kick in. So I said before that the toe kick is always 4 inches high. Not always, but most of the time it's 4 inches high and 3 inches deep. So let me just go to my line tool, O track up 4, draw a line into the left 3 inches, and then come down. And then I'll just trim this out here. Beautiful. And then I got my countertop. And I'll start here with the little lip, and that will just extend out 1 inch. And then I will go up, what did I say? 1 1/4 inches, 1.25. 1.25 is 1 1/4, and then straight back to the wall. So if I wanted to put a backsplash here, like a 4 inch backsplash, I could do that. You could just draw a little backsplash up here. That would be totally fine. But I think I'm going to do like a tile back here. So I'm not going to have or maybe a stone back here. So I'm not going to show a backsplash. All right. Now we've got the wall cabinets. And let me bring this back up here. And my wall cabinets are going to start here. And then these are the ones that are on this is the corner cabinet. And then this is like that weird little side shelf. If you remember back from CAD 1, that's this. So they start 1 foot 6. So I'm going to go up 1 foot 6. And then wall cabinets almost always are a foot deep, 12 inches deep. Your cabinets at home, your kitchen cabinets at home, if you put a tape measure to them, they will most probably be 1 foot deep. So I'm going to make this 1 foot deep, and then I'm going to bring it all the way to the ceiling. Now, if you didn't want to, you wanted to stop it a foot below, you could and come back here. But just for this exercise, I'm going to bring it out a foot and then up to the ceiling. Okay. So with my line tool, I will start here at the countertop type, top, O track up 1'6". There is the bottom of my cabinet, and it extends out 12 inches or a foot. And I'm going to bring it right up to the ceiling. Good. So now I've got the corner cabinet and this little shelf over here. And if I look at my elevation over here, here's that corner cabinet, and here is that little shelf. And I think what I'm going to do to make my life easier is I'm just going to come down here, and I want this line to be right in line with the bottom of this cabinet. So I will just hover over this and then move over. See that white X? That is my object snap tracking telling me that it's going to draw that line right so it's even with the bottom of that cabinet. And sure enough, it did. And then I'll just bring it over there. And then I'll just trim this out here. And let's get this silly little shelf here. Again, I'll do the same thing. You know what, this time, just to keep it fresh, I'll O-track down. So I'm just going to hover over that corner, looking for that green line, and I'm coming down right to the ceiling right there, left click, and now I'm drawing, and then I will hover over that corner, find that object snap corner there, intersection, and then just go around like that. And that is my cabinets. While I'm here, why don't I get this too? So first, I've got, I'll do this one here. And this is going to come down, and all of my wall cabinets are going to line up. So I'll just come over here. Good. And I'll bring this down to there, and I'll just come up to there. And then I've got this little shelf here, so I will just bring this down like that, and then just trim this out. Now you may notice that there are some lines here, right? These are lines that I just drew here, and when I trimmed it, left those. But you know what? I don't care because I'm only concerned about the elevation. This stuff here is just a guide for me. It's just being a guideline, just guides for me. Okay, so let's do the base cabinet that is going across here. That is this cabinet here. And let's set that. Let's do that as well. So I'll start over here. And I know that it's going to align itself with the end of that wall cabinet there. And there it is. And then I will draw this. This is the top of, or this is the the countertop. And then down here is my toe kick. Okay, so this cabinet here, this side cabinet and this side cabinet, they're kind of sticking out the furthest, right? They're closest to us. If we're standing in the kitchen right here, they're extending out into the room the farthest. And then these are pushed back. They're a little closer to the wall, aren't they? So I'm going to actually change the layer of these, and I'm just going to make them a little bit lighter, a little lighter. So I'm going to grab them, and you know what? I'll grab these two. And I'm going to make these, I'm going to put these on on my detail light. There it is. And your colors may be different than mine, and that's fine if yours are. It's the main thing is to get them on the right layer. And then the same with this base cabinet here, right? This is only sticking out 2 feet into the room off the wall, whereas this cabinet sticks or sticks way out. It comes all the way out here. So I'm going to make these light as well. And this time I'm going to use match properties, I think. I'm going to try to use as many tools as I can to just sort of be a bit of a refresher for you all as we're going through this. Okay, that looks pretty good. So let's put our window in. So let me see here. Okay, so the window, it looks like the window sill is at 3 feet 4 inches off the floor. And the height of the window is 3 feet 8 off the floor. And there are no left and right dimensions, right? I don't know where it is from the corner, and I don't know how wide the window is from this elevation. But I do know where it is, left and right, from this piece of wall that we copied over. So, all right, I said, what did I say? I said 3 foot 4 and 3 foot 8. So, a lot of ways you can do this. But I think what I'm going to do is, should I offset? Yeah, okay, I'm going to try offset. So I'm going to offset 3 foot 4. You don't have to. You could draw a line up 3 foot 4 and another offset 3 foot 8. So this is 3 foot 4, the windowsill, and then the head of the window, the top of the window is 3 foot 8. So this is 3 foot 8. Let me just double check. Yep, 3 foot 8. This is 3 foot 4, the ground. Good. So this marks the top of our window, and this marks the bottom of our window. So now let's get the left and the right side in. So let me go over here, come down. And I'm on some crazy layers here. I'm using a bunch of different layers, but I'm not too worried about that. I will change my layers momentarily. So this marks the left side of the window. This marks the right side of the window. This marks the left side. Whew. And now I'm going to use fillet here. And I'm going to just fillet these to get my nice rectangle. And that's going to represent the outside of the outside perimeter of my window. And I'm also going to put this window also on this same layer, this detail light. So you can either use match properties or select the lines and then put them on a detail light. Any way you do it is perfectly fine. And then, so to minimize my offsetting, let me just bring this back again. So I've got to draw the 2 inch window frame here, and then I've got these mullions here. So if I offset in 2 inches, I'm going to have to trim at these corners, and that would be fine. It would be totally fine to trim at those corners. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to use join to join these four lines, and then offset in, and that will clean up these corners for me. So I'm just kind of like thinking ahead and trying to make my life a little bit easier. So the command is join, Join, and what I can do is I can select multiple lines, and if those lines, if the endpoint and endpoint, if the endpoint of one line and the endpoint of the next line connect, they will join together. And now what I have is a polyline. I have a rectangle that is all one entity now rather than four. So if I do offset, and I'm going to offset 2 inches for the window frames, it offset it in for me really nicely. And I don't have to do any trimming at the corners. If you don't want to use join, you can just offset this line and this line and this line and this line, and then trim, 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 trim. And I'm totally fine. Would be totally, totally fine. Okay, so now I've got some mullions that are in the middle here. So let's find those and bring those in as well. So they are here. And you know what, this time I will use O tracking. So I'm gonna hover over that corner and I'm gonna O track down to, no, you know what, they're too far away. I'm just gonna use line down and I'll bring that one down too. Lovely. All right, let me do some trimming here. I'm going to use a fence to get rid of these superfluous lines here. And I will also trim those. Okay, that looks pretty good. Uh, let's get this stuff on the right layer. So, let me bring the handout back again. So I have this on a slightly darker layer, and I want all of my guts of my window, the nuts and bolts of the window, I'm going to put that on a light line weight. So this is a medium line weight, I believe. Oh no, this is on light. So then what I'll do is I'll put this on extra light. So I'm going to grab all this inner stuff here and I will put that on extra light, XLIT, X for extra. Okay, good. Now I've got these windows, these two end windows are operable. And so they either crank or swing open, whatever they do. So what I need to do is I need to add a operable window frame, a frame in here. And so I'm just going to offset this in an inch. So if I offset 1 inch, oh, so it's giving me this, but that's fine. I'll just, I'll just fill it this, and I'll just fill it this. But you could have joined this. You could have taken this and this line and used join and then offset, and then you wouldn't have to had done that filleting there. And then I'm just going to draw a little handle here, and I'm going to use my rectangle tool. So my rectangle tool is right up here, and I'm just going to draw, I'm just eyeballing here, and I'm just drawing a cute little handle right there. Let me put that on my extra light layer. And then I'm going to move it such that the midpoint of the handle aligns with the midpoint of this window frame here. Good. And now I need to do the exact same thing on this side, or I can use mirror. And I'll just grab this inside window frame and my little handle, use the midpoint of the window as my mirror line. Erase source objects, no. And there we go. Gorgeous. Okay, so let's move on. I've got two windows over here, but I think what I want to do is I think I'm going to get this millwork dealt with over here. So this millwork over here, I've got same type of base cabinet situation over here. This is a much smaller or slightly smaller, not as deep. This toe kick here, this only comes in 2 inches, and the depth of the cabinet is 1'11". So for whatever reason, and that happens, and then we'll have to deal with this little piece up here. So let me quickly go over 1'11". And I'm going to come up. But how much am I coming up? Well, I don't exactly remember. So, but I do know that I want to match what I've got over here. So I'm just going to hover over this, come over. There it is. It's going straight up. And I'll go straight. And then I'll make the countertop 1 inch. And I think it went up 1 1/4. And then straight back. And then I've got that toe kick. The toe kick will be 4 inches high, but only 2 inches deep here. I'll track go up 4, and then go over 2, and then come down. And I'll do a little trim. Beautiful. Okay, so now it looks like the very top. So let me come back to here and and I was talking about this area here. So first, let me just show you on elevation 2. This is the elevation of that millwork that we're drawing right now on the side of. So this is the base cabinet, and then this is the countertop, and then we've got bookcases running up here that look like they go up 7'9.5". So the top of this is 7'9.5". And this is just sort of this is a decorative piece here. And if I go to, where is it? Oh dear, oh dear. It looks like I didn't include it in the handout. So I think what we're going to do is we're gonna kind of wing it. And then I also have a bunch of dimensions here, and when we're talking about this elevation, we'll get more into that here. But it looks like I didn't include this little fancy piece up here. So we're gonna wing it. Okay. So the top of this little piece here is 7 feet 9.5 inches from the floor. So I'm going to O-track up 7'9.5", 0.5, and I'm just going to come out 12 inches, and I'm going to come straight down. And I want to make sure that, well, I guess it looks like it's coming right to the midpoint, so that's fine. Okay, so that is the side of our millwork. Let me go back to the handout again. Let's look at this here, or let's look at this one. So the top of the actual bookcase here is 5 inches. So what I'm going to do is this little piece here. I wish I had. Gosh darn it! All right. Well, okay. I'm going to make do. So this is going to come down 5 inches. So I'm just going to go over, I'll just say 3 inches, and I'm going to come down 5 inches, and then I'm going to go across. So let me trim this, and let me go over those dimensions again. So it's 5 inches high here and 3 inches. So the top of this is 7 feet 9.5 inches from the floor. And then I went over 3 inches and then down 5, and then it went straight across. So we're just doing a simplified little corbel here at the top. Maybe next week, what I'll do is I'll get into the details of this.
All right, Paul, can you say how you're getting all those dimensions to pop up when you're checking?
Oh yeah, yeah. So the measure tool is over here, and mine is set by default to quick measure, but there's a number of different kinds. If you want to actually measure from one point to another, use distance. But I just have mine on quick, and then as soon as I click on that and I just hover over in this area, it gives me all kinds of info about uh, my lines. Was that what you were asking?
Yes, thank you.
Yeah. Good question. Glad you asked it. All right. So, I'll get the rest of this, I think, next time, but I want to because I'm in cabinet mode, and I think I'm gonna switch over to this elevation here. Okay. So now we've got a big old fireplace in the middle, and then we've got the millwork base cabinet and shelves on the left and on the right. So let's start with the fireplace. So I'm on my detail medium layer, and I think that's probably where I want to be. So I'm just going to start with my line tool, and I'm going to start with the left and the right sides of my fireplace. So I'm just going to come down and draw the left and right sides. I'll do some trimming up here. And I've got that. Okay. Now let's go back to our handout. So I've got a handout here of that elevation, and I put in a whole bunch of chicken scratch here with a whole bunch of dimensions that we're going to need. So I'm going to start with the fireplace area here. So the fireplace itself is here. There's a mantle or a hearth down here, and it is, let's zoom in here. It is 18 inches above the floor. And then I've got the actual fireplace here. So the fireplace this is the fireplace opening here. This line here and here. And then this is actually the back wall of the fireplace. So if I go back to my floor plan, so this is the back wall of the fireplace. So let's go back to here. So that is going to be this little rectangle here. And then we have a decorative stone here, an arched cut stone here that's 8 inches high. And we'll put that in. And then we have a mantle up here with two the mantle and the corbels. Yep. So I've got a corbel over here and a corbel over here. A corbel is really just a bracket. It's just a fancy wide bracket here. Okay, so let's start with the hearth, 18 inches. So I'm going to go up 18 inches. And I don't have a dimension here, but I like to generally speaking, like a slab is 1.25 inches, but for a hearth like this, I like to have a more heavy slab, either 1.5 inches or maybe 2 inches. I think I'll make mine 2 inches. See how that looks. Okay, so I will just use my line tool. I'm going to O track up 18 inches and go straight across. That's the top of my hearth, and then I'll offset 2 inches for the thickness of the slab, of the stone slab. Okay, good. So now, let me go back to this. So now I need to draw the opening. So the opening at this corner here is 1'10" high. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna come up 1'10" and do and then well, let's just start with that. So let's just offset 1'10". There we go. I need to get the sides of the fireplace, and that's easy enough done. Then I will fill it, I think. So there are the sides, and then this is the two sides are here, and then this here is where that arch springs from. So here and here, and it's going to spring up. How high is it going to spring up? I've got a dimension here of 2'5". So I'm going to just offset and give myself a little guide here of 2'5". Just offset 2'5". And then I'm going to use my arc tool. So my arc tool by default is set to 3-point, and that's what I want. I want 3 points. 1 point here, the midpoint of this guideline, and then the end point of here. 1, 2, 3. So I'm going to choose 3-point arc. If you go over the arc tool and you don't have 3-point arc, just click down here and find 3-point arc. First point. Second point will be the midpoint of that guideline that I drew. And third point will be the end point there. And then I will just use my eraser tool and erase these two guidelines. So there is the nice opening of my fireplace. Now I got to draw that back wall. So the back wall is 1'6" high. So, all right, I'll just offset 1'6". The sides I'll get from the wall plan that I have up above. 1'5". And then the back wall is this here, this line here. So let me come down and come down here. And then I'll use fillet again to clean that up and that up. And then I have the corners. So this is sort of the roof of the fireplace. And then this is the sidewall, and then this is the sidewall. So where they intersect here is where that corner is. And I'm just going to use the line tool, and I'm going to go up. I'm going to turn my OSNAP, my ortho off, just so you can see. You could leave it on, but I'm going to leave it off. And I'm just going to go to perpendicular. I'm going to going perpendicular to that arc. I'll do the same thing over on this side. And then I'm going to turn my ortho back on. If you remember, you can turn ortho on and off here, but you can also use your F8 key on your keyboard to toggle ortho on and off. And wait, is it F8? F8, yeah. And I often will use F8 to toggle ortho on and off. Okay, good. So let's think about line weight. So this is sticking out. Our fireplace is sticking out into the room, and our hearth is sticking out into the room. And these lines, which represent the opening of our fireplace, I'll leave that on the medium line weight. But these back here, this is the back wall. Let's put these on the light line weight. So I'm going to grab these. I'm just using a crossing window, and I will put those on my light line weight. All right, that's looking actually pretty good. Okay, so now let's get the mantle here in place. And the mantle is 4'3" from the top of the hearth. So I'm just going to offset, or you could O-track up 4'3". I'll just offset. All right, so now let's get into the mantle details here. And I do have a fireplace mantle. This is a little perspective or isometric or section that I did of the mantle. So this is the stone wall here, and this is the front of the mantle, and then it sort of sets back, and then the nuts and the guts of the mantle are back here. And then I have a corbel here. As I mentioned before, a corbel is nothing more than a bracket that's going to be holding up and supporting this mantle. Mantle is supported back here, but it's also supported by two brackets. I'm showing one here, but the other one would be back here. So let's start with the mantle. So the mantle is 1 inch. This piece extends down 1 inch. So I'll just offset that down 1 inch. And then this piece here is 2 inches. So I'll just offset that down 2 inches. So 1 inch and then 2 inches. Offset 1 inch and then 2 inches. Boom. Got it. Good. All right. Now the corbel. So the corbel is 8 inches by 6 inches wide. W is width. So it's going to be 8 inches deep. There's 8 inches. And then the depth of it is going to be 6 inches. So I'm just going to draw a rectangle, I think, 8 inches by 6 inches, and take it from there. So you could either draw lines or you could use the rectangle tool. And I'm just going to draw a rectangle right here. And it's not, I want to see my dimensions here. So I'm going to turn on my dynamic input.
Hey,
So
Paul.
yeah,
For offsetting the lines above the fireplace, did you go down or up from
oh, I
the?
went down.
Okay, thank you.
This was the top of it. That's a good question, but yeah, this is the top of the mantle. So yeah, you want to go down.
Okay, thank you.
So one more setting here that I'm going to turn on, and that is dynamic input. It's just to the left of ortho. And when I put on dynamic input, it allows me to see dimensions on my cursor, right where my cursor is. And I like using it a lot, particularly when I'm using the rectangle tool. So I'm just going to grab my rectangle tool.
Paul,
Yeah.
I don't have that next to my ortho.
Oh, you don't? Oh, well, that's interesting. Okay. So if you don't have dynamic input here, go over to way off to the right. There is a customization. It's a hamburger menu, those three horizontal lines there. And just click on that and look for dynamic input and make sure that that is checked. And then you should be able to see it right here and then turn it on. Did that work for you?
Yeah, thank you.
Okay. All right, rectangle, 6 inches by 8 inches. So I'm going to grab my rectangle tool, select my rectangle tool. I'm going to select a corner point, and now you can see that I can set the dimension, the horizontal dimension, and I'm going to set it to 6 inches. So I'll just type 6, and instead of hitting Enter or Spacebar, I'm going to hit Tab. Tab locks that 6 inch dimension. See, now that 6 inch dimension is locked. I can't go any wider, but now I can change the height of the rectangle. And I'm going to make that 8. So I'll just type 8. And this time I can hit my spacebar or enter key. And now I have a corbel that is 6 by 8. Let me double check. Go use my measure tool. And sure enough, it is 6 inches wide by 8 inches high. And then I've got a little 2-inch front on it. If I come back here, you can see there is a little flat front here that is 2 inches high. So I'm just going to use my line tool and I'm just going to O-track down 2 inches and go straight across. And because this corbel is kind of like a minor element, I'm going to put this on the light line weight. So I know it's sticking out into the room, but it is minor. So I'm gonna just use match properties and I'll select this, put my corbel in place there. All right. So if I go back to my fireplace here, I do have a dimension here off on the right side that is saying that the corbel, the edge of the corbel, is 1 foot away from the edge of the fireplace. So I think what I'll do is I'll just draw a guideline, either 1 foot. Oops, got a little ahead of myself there. So I'll just draw a little guideline, or you know what? I think I'll do is I'll just offset my guideline 1 foot, and then I'll be able to locate my corbel right here. So 1 foot over, and then I'll move my corbel from the corner of the corbel to the corner of the bottom of the mantle and the intersection of that guideline that I just drew. And then I don't need that guideline anymore, so I'll just erase it. So now I need to do the same thing on the other side. But you know, that for me, that's too much work. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to mirror it. So I'll just grab my corbel, use the midpoint of the fireplace or the mantle, come straight down for my mirror line, erase source objects, no thank you. And boom, I've got my two corbels. All right. I think this would be a good point to save. I should have saved before. And what I'd like you to do is do a save as. So let me go to save as right now. And I have my file named in a very specific way. And I like to get my files named this way. And I would like you to name your files the same way. So don't name your file Paul Gongola, but use your first name, space, and your last name to start the file name. And then use the underscore and then whatever the project is. So this is project 8, but I'm going to call this project 8 elevations. So again, please name your file, your first and last name, underscore, then project 8, and then elevations. And later on, when we get to project 8 building section, we'll call it project 8 sections. So so please do save your file with the new name. Another thing, since we're here, since I'm in the save mode right now, there is a keyboard command that I like to use, and that is to do auto saving. By default, AutoCAD auto saves auto saves every 10 minutes, and for me, that's too long. To You can do a lot of work in 10 minutes, but there is a lovely command called save time. And if you were in my CAD class, you already know about it. If you type save time, it asks for a new value for save time. And sure enough, mine is set to 10, as in 10 minutes. And I'm going to change mine to 2. That's the most amount of minutes that I'm willing to lose in case my computer crashes or I lose power or something wonky happens. So now every 2 minutes my file will autosave. So again, the command is save time and then just set it to whatever. You can set it to 1 if you want. And the only reason I don't set it to 1 is because every minute I get this message here that says your drawing has been autosaved. And you'll see it in 2 minutes, you'll see it come up here. But if you want 1 minute, go for it. It's fine. Okay, so now I've got 2 sconces on the wall here, and they line up above the corbels. And those are that sconce that I asked you to download, just as a reminder. In class resources here, there is the fireplace sconce. Just select it and then go to the 3 little things and then download the file. So I need to bring that block into my drawing here. So to bring it in, I am going to use the insert command, and I just generally type I to bring up my blocks palette. And a little refresher from the blocks palette. Any blocks that I have in my current drawing are here. Blocks that I've used recently are here. You can see I've used a lot of blocks recently. But blocks from libraries are the blocks from our CAD library, or we'll access from our CAD library. So I like to set this to libraries. And then you can go to this little button right here and find your blocks. CAD folder, blocks. There it is. There's my fireplace sconce. That's what it looks like. And I'm just going to click open. And I'll let it load up. Mine is on my D drive, which is my jump drive, so it's a little bit slow. And I'm just going to left click, and it's because I before class I brought it in, so it's asking me to redefine the block, which is fine. I'm just going to bring it in, and I'm just going to plop it into my drawing. And it wants to rotate it because I have rotations set, but I'm not going to rotate. I'm just going to leave it there. Okay. So I'm going to put this block on my light line weight. So I'm just going to select it. It's on medium, and I'm going to put it on light, which is, for me, this weird yellowish green color. And the block hasn't changed color. It's not the same color as the layer. When I click on it, it says that it's on the A detail light layer, but the block is white. So let me open up the floor. Anyone have a theory or know why it's white?
Is it because it was a created block and then it was exploded?
No. But
Okay.
but good guess. The reason is because whoever created this block, they actually created it incorrectly, and they put all of this line work on a layer other than layer 0. And if you remember back in CAD 1, when you were creating blocks, it was always very important to put all of your line work of the block on layer 0. When you put it on layer 0, then it adopts the color and line weight of whatever layer you put that on. But right now, mine is sort of set in its own little world, and it's ignoring where I want to put it. So what I need to do is I need to edit this block. So I'm just going to click on it, and then I will right click, and I have a couple options here. I can either use the block editor, or I can use edit block in place. And it's your preference. I just tend to always use edit block in place. I just like using it. So that's what I'm going to use here. So I'm just going to click edit block in place. It's asking me which block, the fireplace sconce. Yes, I'll just hit OK. And you can see that like everything else is grayed out on my drawing, right? But the sconce here is not. And if I just select one of these lines, let me just select the line here. Ah, look at this. Whoever created this block put it on this weird walls layer. And that's not what we want. When we're creating blocks, we always want our blocks to be on all the line work on our blocks. We want it to be on layer 0. So easy fix. I'm just going to select everything and put it up onto layer 0. Good. So now let me just double check and select some of these lines here. Sure enough, everything is on layer 0. That looks good. And I am going to save my changes. So there is a little edit reference palette up here off and on the right, and I'm just going to click Save Changes. And it's just confirming that I want to save them. Yes, I do. And oh, look at that. It changed color. So now it is adopting the color of the layer that I placed it on. So, and sure enough, if I change this to, let me move it over here so you can see it. If I put it on whatever layer I put it on, it's going to adopt that color. So I'm going to put mine back on my A detail light. And you know what? So I'm not really liking this yellow green color, so I'm just going to change it because it's just bothering me. So I'm just going to go to my layer palette and find my A detail light. Mine is set to 60 for some reason, and I'm just going to change it to yellow. I think that is just going to read a little better to me for me, at least for now. You can leave it. It's you know, whatever color it's on, it's fine. All right, so now I need to align the sconce with the corbel here. So I'm gonna move this, and I'm just gonna move it to the midpoint of the corbel. That's not where I want it, but I'm just kind of like centering it so that it aligns with the corbel. And then I'm just gonna move it up. And I don't think I have a dimension, so I'm just gonna leave it to you. Put it where you think it should go. And then do the same on the other side, or if you rather just use mirror. All right. I think that looks pretty good. All right, so let's move on to, I'm gonna do this millwork here, and then we're gonna call it a day for tonight. And this actually should go pretty quickly. All right, so let's look at what we got going on here. So I've got a 4-inch toe kick. That line will go across. And then my cabinet top here, I'm going to put right at 3 feet. And then I've got the 1.25 inch counter. And then I've got some supports here, 3 supports here. And then I've got this 5-inch piece up here, and we'll detail that next week. And the top of it is at 7'9.5", comes down 5 inches. So I'm going to put this on my other screen, and I am going to go relatively quickly here on this one, because I know you all know how to do this by now. So, all right, I'm on my medium line weight, and I think I am going to, yeah, I'll leave it on medium for now. So I'll start, I think, with my toe kick, which is 4 inches high. And then my top of my counter is at 3 feet. And I said the countertop is 1.25, 1.25. Or did I say 1.5? Oh, let's make it 1.5. whatever makes you happy. Just make sure that you're not going up because that would put the top of the counter at more than 3 feet. So you want to make sure it's going down. All right, and then the top of our cabinet is 7'9.5". So I'll draw a line. I'm going to O-track up 7'9.5". And then that little crown molding thing comes down 5 inches, and we'll flush that out next week. Okay, I think those are the major horizontals. So now let's look. We've got 3 verticals that are going to hold up our shelves. So, or supports that are going to hold up the shelves. And they are 3 inches wide, the trim. So I'm going to use my line tool, and I'll just start here. I'm going to O-track over to the right 3 inches and go up. And if you want, you could mirror this to get this one, but I'll just O-track over 3 inches, I think. And go up. And now I need the middle one. So let's find the midpoint. I want it right centered. And I want the total width to be 3 inches. So I want to go half of 3 to the left and half of 3 to the right. So I'm going to offset half of 3, which is 1.5 to the right and to the left. And then I'll just erase this. And let's double check our work. Use my measure tool. 3 inches, yes. 3 inches, yes. 3 inches to the on this one. I'm looking at the horizontal dimension. All right, good. So now I've got my shelves. I'm just gonna fly through this. 1'3". And the depth of the shelf is going to be 1.5 inches. I'm just looking at my notes on the handout. So I will offset 1.5 inches. And again, be careful to offset in the correct direction. So we're offsetting down. And then the next shelf is 1'1". So I will do a line. I will go up 1'1", and then offset 1.5. And then I'll do the third one. Again, 1'1". And then offset 1.5. You know what? You know what you could have done? Instead of just going to here, I could have drawn the line all the way to here and then just trimmed out this middle piece. That would have been totally fine. You could have done that if you wanted. So now I need to do it over here, but I can either mirror this or I could copy. And I think this time I'll copy. So I'm just going to use copy. I'm just going to select the shelves. I'll use this as my base point, and I'll use this as my endpoint right over here. Or mirror, either one. All right, let's look at our doors. So I've got some double doors over here, and then I have 2 doors over here for the base cabinets. And the doors are 19 inches wide by 30 inches high. So let's draw our first door. And I'm going to use my rectangle tool. And I'm going to go across 19 inches. And I'm going to use tab to lock in the 19 and then switch to the vertical dimension, which is 30. Hopefully this will fit, and it just fits. I'm just using my eyeballs here to get the door below the countertop here and above the toe kick here. So I'm just eyeballing it. So I've got a little bit of space there, and I got a little bit of space there. Okay. Now I've got, let me bring the, so now I have this this trim piece here, this Muntin and Mullion here, and it is 2 inches going around. So all I'm going to do is I'm going to take this and offset it 2 inches to get this perimeter here. So let me do that. Good. And now the last thing I need to do for this door is, let me bring it back here, is I've got some dashed lines here. So again, let me open up the floor. What does anyone know what these dashed lines mean? Why are they there?
Is it because it's supposed to be like hidden?
It is what? I'm sorry, I didn't hear you.
Because it's supposed to be hidden?
It is, but it is a hidden line. Those actually aren't on the door, but they represent something to whoever's looking at my drawing.
Is that
They're,
how they
they're
open?
what? Say that again.
Is that how they open? Like
That's
where
exactly correct. This tells whoever is looking at my drawing how this door opens, where the hinge is. So where is the hinge? Where these two lines meet, this it's telling the contractor or the mill worker or whoever's going to be working on your drawing is telling them that the hinges are on this side of the door. It doesn't necessarily mean, let me zoom in. It doesn't necessarily mean that it's right here. It could be, but it doesn't have to be there. And in fact, for these doors, the hinge is probably going to be up here and down here. But this line tells the contractor that the hinges are on the left side of this door. Similarly, over here, it's telling the contractor that the hinges are on this side of the door. I didn't have to do that, or you don't have to do that. You could have had it go like this, and that would tell the contractor that, the hinges are on the left side on this door, and the hinges are on the left side on this door, and on this door, and on this door, it's on the right side. So what you are doing when you are showing these dashed lines is you are telling whoever is reading your drawing where the hinges are on this door. And this applies for all door, like a door into a room. When we're drawing elevations for a door that goes into the room, you will have this same thing. Or often on windows, if you have like windows that, open out or, or into the room, you'll show that dotted line or dashed line to indicate where the hinges are on your drawing. So this is a convention that is used throughout our industry, throughout the architecture industry, throughout door manufacturers, mill workers, cabinet manufacturers. Everybody uses this convention. So if you've never seen this before, now you know when you're looking at a drawing, particularly an elevation, and you see this, you know what this means. Very, very important. Okay, so I am going to, with my line tool here, I'm just going to draw a line from, I'm just going to turn my ortho off just so you can see. You can leave your ortho on, but I'm starting in this upper right corner, and I'm going to go to the midpoint of my door on the left side, and then I'm going to go to the lower right corner. So there is going to be my dashed line. So I need to put that on a layer that's dashed. So let me just see what I got here. Let me open up my layer palette here. See what I've got here. I do have a detail hidden to. So, and the line type is hidden to. So the hidden to is a short dashed line I think that is exactly what I want. I want the line to be very lightweight, and for whatever reason, mine is set to default. Yours may be different, but I want to change that. I want to change the line weight so that's very, very light. So I'm going to click on this default here, and I'm going to change it to 0.09. When you go below 0.09, like 0.05, not all printers, some printers may not even print it. So I generally, this is kind of like my low threshold most of the time, unless I know that I've got a printer that I can really, really print, very thin lines. But I usually stop at 0.09. And if you don't have this line, this layer, you can make it. So let me just quickly show you how to make a layer. Let me just show you here. I'm just going to create a new layer. And I'll call this one A-detail, DETL. We try to keep our layer naming convention to 4 letters. And then I'm going to call this dash because I don't have an A detail dash, and it actually is four letters, so I like that better. And mine's set to 151, so that's fine. And mine is also at hidden 2, but if yours is not, you can come here, you can click on the line type, find hidden 2 within the line types here. And if you don't see hidden 2, you can load it. You can come down here to load. And there is a plethora of line types, and you're looking for hidden 2, which is right here. Now notice there's a hidden X2, and that's an extra long dash, but we want the extra short dashes, so I'm choosing hidden 2. And I'm not going to hit OK because I already have it loaded, so I'm going to hit cancel. I just wanted to show you. And then, of course, make sure that your line weight is at 0.09 millimeters. If it's not, just click on this, change it to 0.09. Okay, you know what? Yeah, so that's the layer I'm going to put it on, a detail dash. I think that's more proper. So I'll just select those 2 lines, and I'm going to put them on a detail dash. It's a larger line, but that's fine. It's going to be totally fine. All right, so there is my door. And because my door is, well, no, I'll leave it on that layer. Okay, so now I've got 2 doors. Let me bring this back to here. I got 2 doors, and I'm going to center the 2 doors on the center of these shelves here, and then these shelves I'm going to center on these doors I'm going to center on these shelves over here. So I think what I'll do, this obviously is not centered. I think I'm just going to draw a guideline. There's a lot of ways you can skin this cat, but just draw a guideline. And then I'm going to move the door and I'm just going to move it just perpendicular to that guideline. And then I will mirror this door, actually right on this guideline. So I'll just type MI. That's the keyboard shortcut for a mirror. And there I've got my 2 doors. And you know what, while I'm at it, let me erase the guideline. I don't need that anymore. While I'm at it, let's mirror this over here because I don't want to redraw it. I'll just go to mirror. I'll just grab both of these doors and then I'll just mirror it just on right here, I think. Okay. Oop, I'm moving it. Erase source objects? No, thank you. And boom, we've got our shelves. I think I'm going to hatch this before we call it quits tonight. But before I do that, let's just take all of this shelving over here And let's put it over here as well. So I could copy this. I could use like this corner as a base point and then use this corner as the end point and copy all of this from here to here. But I'm going to mirror it again. I'm a fan of mirror, so I'm going to use it. I'm just going to select all of this stuff. I want to make sure that I'm not selecting this line or this line or this line. I'm not selecting the ends of the line. I'm just selecting the actual millwork. Okay, I'm done selecting objects. I hit my space bar. And first point, just the midpoint of my mantle or my fireplace. Ray source objects, no. Boom, we're good. All right, that was pretty easy. So last thing before I call it quits for tonight, let's just get some stone in here. And let's think about what layer we want to put that on. So I have a layer called A Detail Pat. So I'm trying to keep the 4-letter layer naming convention. So A stands for architectural, detail is detail, DETL is for details, and PATT is for patterns. I'm going to set that to my current layer. And then I'm going to go to my hatch tool. So I can access the hatch tool either here, and I get my hatch ribbon, or you can type the letter H as in hatch. That's the keyboard shortcut. I often will do that as well. And my ribbon here changes to the hatch ribbon. And the first thing we want to do is select our hatch. So I'm going to just click on this little down arrow right here and find gravel. They're alphabetical. Here it is, gravel. So we're going to select gravel. And now if I hover over this, it's highlighting, it's showing me the gravel, but it's like really, really, really small. And depending on the resolution of your monitor, either on your PC or your MacBook or your laptop, it may not actually show up. So what you might need to do is change the scale of it. So I'm going to actually bring my scale up. And two ways you can do it. You can kind of like drag the scale or go here, but I'm just going to type in, I don't know, 20. And then, oh, actually I kind of like that. That's okay. That's actually okay. So I'm setting my scale to 20. So I'm going to click in here. And then I will click in here and I'll grab this. So and now I will click close hatch and I have my hatch. If yours is not cooperating, there could be a couple things. One, you may not have lines that are connected. Like if these lines don't come together and you don't have a closed hatch area, you're not going to be able to get your hatch. Or, like I said earlier, if the scale is off, you may not get the hatch that way as well. So, all right, that looks pretty good. But you know what? There's something that I forgot, and I kind of forgot it on purpose right here. And that is I had a lintel piece here, a curved stone lintel, and I believe that lintel was 8 inches. So let's put that lintel in, and then we'll trim out the hatch from the lintel. So I'm going to offset that arc 8 inches. There it is. And then I need to get the two ends here of the arc. So let me just draw a line from the end point there to the end point there. And they're on the wrong layer, I can see. So I will change that layer. I'll use match properties to change it to my A medium layer. And now I can go in and I can trim this hatch from this area here. And you know what? There's a little beam up here, but you know what? You do the beam. I'm not gonna do the beam tonight. All right, so we have this elevation in pretty darn good shape. And then we have the kitchen portion of this elevation blocked out. We need to get some windows in here, and we need a window and a door over here. So we will finish up with these elevations next time, and then we will get a new sheet, a sheet 4, and we'll put all of our stuff on sheet 4 and finish this up. Okay. I think, yeah, somebody.
I just had one. When I went to trim that hatch out, it got rid of all of it, like in that section instead of just in that arch. I was able to fix it a
So
different way, but what did I do wrong? I
you
didn't.
may not have gone, when you drew this line, it may not have gone from corner to corner.
Okay.
That probably was the reason. But you know, if it got rid of all the hatch,
Yeah, just in that section.
just put new hatch in.
Yeah, that's what I did. I just didn't know
Yeah.
if there was like a trick
Yeah.
or I was supposed to change the trim tool somehow or something.
Yeah.
But
No, sometimes, a lot of times when, if I make a mistake or something's wonky, a lot of times it's just easier to just redraw it rather than try to fix it and, try to dissect what the problem was.
okay, thank you.